Alrighty. How's it going, guys? It's been a little while. Nice to be back. Here to recap some things with you guys. Gonna go over Bellator 207 and 8, even though it probably has been hacked to death, but we're still gonna talk about it. Go over a little bit of news, talk about some things, recap, and look forward to some fights coming up.
Fuck yeah.
Alright. So, fucking Bellator, dude, I gotta say, when Scott Coker took over, Lord, was it fucking shaky.
Dude, they couldn't figure out what kind of platform they wanted to be. They were just kind of all over the place. Fucking wreck.
Oh my god, right, remember Kimbo Shamrock?
Oh, yeah, I still am very convinced that shit was as staged as it got.
You know what? I don't think it was staged. I think Ken's just that old. I
That's
literally
possible.
I think he was just so old and so juiced up. He just couldn't move anymore to lock it up, and Kimbo's just like, "Here's my moment."
Yeah, that shit was pathetic. And then they had a Shamrock Gracie again. I mean, they haven't gotten that much better. They're still fighting old dudes, but not that old at least.
Oh my god, right? I mean, like you can make the argument that like Sergei Haritonov and Fedor like may be old, but they still have plenty of fights left in them.
Yeah,
Like
definitely.
those guys are still old dogs that can bite back. But I think what Bellator struggled with when Scott Coker took over with was the fact that they didn't have stars once they moved away from the tournament platform.
Yeah,
That's really what it was. Like, if we're gonna be honest, Bellator lacked actual drawing power outside of their tournament platform, unlike the UFC and previous promotions, because a lot of promotions make their kind of mark off of like a handful of fighters, and people end up like watching. Like, for the longest time, people equated like UFC and Anderson Silva
yeah.
or
Before that, UFC and
UFC and
Chuck Liddell.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, so Bellator, I think, struggled with that. So, I mean, I get why they would do those oddity fights, but I just gotta say, I'm glad we haven't seen Kembo versus Dada ever again. Rest in peace, Kimbo. But
Yeah, we won't see it again.
yeah,
Dark, bad
oh my,
joke. Sorry, guys.
rest in peace. Oh my god, dude,
Yeah,
that
I think
was
it was just such a bad idea that Bellator really grew because of its whole tournament platform, and then like when Coker came and they announced that they were gonna move away from that, it was like, oh, are you sure you want to do that?
yeah.
And
I
then they
think
brought in those circus freak fights.
yeah, yeah. I wait. Was Bonner Ortiz under Coker or Rebney?
I think it was under Coker.
Was it?
Yeah, because I don't think Dana White was willing to let Bonner go under Rebney.
Yeah, he hated Rebney.
Yeah,
He
Rebney's
tolerates
a joke
Coker.
too, though.
I don't even know about. I don't even know much about Rebney. I just know that like Coker, some people like him and some people dislike him. But the people who dislike him are guys like Dana. And the people who like him are usually the fighters, but that's because I've read and heard around that like he will pay fighters pretty much like he'll disclose to the press and everything what the like, oh, we're gonna pay him this much, and then he like makes sure they get paid more on the side.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would like him a little more too. I
Yeah.
don't know. At the time, Dana respected him though.
Well, the thing is, he also kind of worked for him.
Yeah,
Coker
that's
kind of
true.
worked for Dana, so I think once he got rid of him, it was like me and Stitch were never friends.
One of those memes that'll never age.
Yeah, but I mean, what Bellator did with the heavyweight Grand Prix and what they're doing now with this welterweight Grand Prix, and I hope they continue doing with others, but still like mix the the fucking normal fights throughout the card,
Right.
uh, instead of just like one big tournament card. Um, but I like the fact that it's like for this one is to decide the heavyweight champion, but I believe for the welterweight one, I'm not sure if it's for the welterweight title or the welterweight Grand Prix title, thus making it a specific title.
I don't know. Yeah, that's a confusing
Like,
one. I believe what I read is that because Rory, of course, being the welterweight champion, is fighting in
yeah,
it, and I believe they read that whoever beats him also gets the belt too.
huh?
Kind of takes your motivation away to continue the tournament, though.
Yeah, it does. I think that's dumb. They should have done it like Pride style. How Pride has the Grand Prix belts and then the normal weight belts.
Yeah,
Like you'd have the Grand Prix champions, but those guys like you could return as a Grand Prix champion to fight again, but you weren't defending that belt.
yeah. I don't know. It's an odd setup. I still think they're trying to figure out what they're doing themselves. Having
Yeah.
Rory fight Gegard Mousasi when he's also fighting in the tournament was a ridiculous decision. So I don't
Yeah.
think they know what they're doing.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And I think they're going to put in Larkin over MVP. Like honestly, I don't think at this point Coker's trying to protect MVP. It's more or less he knows what he has, and he knows if he gets MVP exposed, people are just gonna start like he's learned from Connor Dana.
Hmm.
Like he's learned from that. So like I don't blame him for keeping MVP protected at this point because you need a flashy knockout artist that can talk shit. Like, let's just be honest. You need one in your promotion
Yeah.
that will draw people in, whether or not fans like whether or not he's good or not doesn't matter because if he can talk and draw fans in and people and like make people think he's good, like I've heard people think MVP can take out Wonder Boy. So like,
Yeah, yeah, I've
you
seen
know,
that a couple times. Fucking,
yeah,
I can't stand the dude. MVP is trash.
he's
Like, not only is his style very exposable, and it's obvious against a legit welterweight, he's nothing, but just the way he fucking acts, man, it pisses me off. When he
yeah,
knocks them out and starts getting in their face, like, I can understand kind of taunting and doing his own celebrations, even though they're dumb, but when he
yeah,
actually got in their faces after knocking them out, it was like, okay, you're a piece of shit.
yeah. But I'm just glad they haven't pushed him as much anymore and kind of put more focus on other fighters.
Yeah, it's
Um,
nice to see Chandler is kind of like the Bellator superstar right now, even
yeah,
without a
it's
championship.
dude, he's just that good. But 207 overall, I know you didn't watch it, but I had the chance to watch it, and I was impressed with it. Like, Bellator really, like, mind you, I'm looking at this the scope of Bellator, not like there's not trying to compare it to the UFC because it's like it's like comparing like apples at like an organic market versus apples at Walmart. They're both apples, but one's a slightly better apple. But the I I hardly caught any of the undercard, but I caught the main card mainly because like Bellator for the most part, unless it's a card in the Idaho area where I know a lot of the undercard fighters, it's just a ton of scrubs. It's really a ton of
Yeah,
scrubs and guys making their debuts. So I'm just like, I'll wait till the main event. And and the main card, dude, it came through. Like this dude Mandelo Nallo was making his debut, and he was out of TriStar, and this dude sleeps Carrington Banks with a just step up, step up, half flying knee. So like he
What?
steps up with his lead, and then he kind of like propelled himself up and like put Banks to sleep.
Damn.
And then Kevin Ferguson and Corey Browning went to war. It went 2 rounds, and Kevin eventually gassed out. You know, uh, not that that was too surprising because he obviously doesn't have that. He has the understanding of wrestling, but when it comes to grappling exchanges, I saw he doesn't have the grasp yet. Like
Mm,
he knows how to punch and move from there, but he doesn't know the finer points of like moving correctly without wasting a lot of energy.
right.
So I mean, like he fell to 3-2, no big deal. He still got a name. It was still a super fucking exciting fight. Like honestly, it was an exciting fight. So there's no way Bellator's going to cut him, and they're probably not too happy with Corey Browning, so they're going to feed him to like a killer lightweight next.
Uh,
Like he's probably going to be fighting Sayada Watt or someone like that next.
right.
4-2 versus like fucking Georgie Karhanian. That's what they did with the dude who beat Aaron Pico. They were mad at him, so they threw him to like this like beast his next fight. I can't remember who it was, but it was someone who had it. I think it was Rickles. His very next fight, he fought fucking Rickles. And Bellator was like, "Oh Jesus, that's no favors."
Yeah, they're like, fuck you, dude. The hell? Stop trying to beat our hype train.
God, right? But dude, Pico, he's another guy. We'll talk about him if he ever fights again, though. Oh, dude, the fight that I was sad you missed though was one that I waited all night for. Like, I could have missed the rest of the card and been happy. Was Lorenz Larkin versus Ian Pascu,
uh,
and this Pascu guy is out of SBG Ireland, so it made it a little more sweeter that Lawrence Larkin just styled on this guy.
right.
It's just one of those things where, like, anytime I hear someone from, like, Connor's gym lost, I'm like, ha! See? Y'all ain't shit.
Fuck y'all.
Fuck y'all.
It
Oh,
wouldn't be
that's
like it
funny.
wouldn't be so bad if so many of them didn't decide to start trying to act exactly like it.
That's actually why I fucking can't stand SBG Ireland. Like, they're all just, like, want to be Connor clothes, and Kavanaugh pretty much admitted it. Poor
Yeah.
guy has to deal with it, too.
Yeah.
But
Fuck, poor guy.
Lawrence Larkin, man, my God, dude, he hasn't looked this good since he was in the UFC. And
Shit.
it was amazing. Like, the way he was using his angles, pumping his jab, and he would, like, switch stances and throw either straight right or straight left, just right down the middle and catch Ion, like, clear. Like, catch him clear on the chin, clear in the chest, just was tagging him up the whole night, and then, like, partway near the end of the first round, he throws a push kick, and Ion catches it, and he's on one leg, and he throws an uppercut and drops him. It was the
Damn.
craziest thing ever. Like, he dropped him on one, and he was out momentarily, and I think it was just because the fact that Larkin literally was just, he dropped him and was coming off of just one leg. He wasn't really able to get the finish. If he was able to, like, get his balance and find his bearings, he would have finished him in that first round.
Fuck, dude.
But Allen showed how tough he was and carried on. But really, outside of that first round, he didn't show too much, like weapons to threaten Larkin, but also that just shows the level of Larkin's striking. Like he was able to constantly change his stance and cut angles on him and keep throwing him off. It was nuts the way
Yeah, that
Larkin.
sounds great. That sounds like a fucking phenomenal looking Larkin too.
It was at one point he threw this beautiful jump spinning back kick to the body, and it
Yeah.
knocked Ion back like almost to the fence.
The fuck?
Like Larkin was on one that night. Like I honestly think he needed those two rough losses and then that shaky win over Fernando Gonzalez to really get his bearings back. Because
Uh,
I think he came into Bellator thinking, I just crushed Neil Magny. These fools ain't gonna be shit. I can take anyone out. I've stood with bigger guys. I don't think he really respected Bellator's level of fighters
yeah, just
when
didn't
he
take it
came in.
serious.
Yeah, yeah. Like I'm not saying he didn't fight at his best. I just don't think he took guys like Lima and Daly as seriously as he could have taken them.
Mm-hmm. Oh
Uh,
yeah, fucking Lima.
yeah.
Like you take Lima seriously.
I mean, eventually, I would like to see Larkin and Lima rematch. That would be
Right.
amazing. I think a rematch between the two would go a lot differently and probably be just either a crazy striking war or just a crazy war in general.
Yeah.
And then,
Lima's just phenomenal to watch though. I love watching Lima.
yeah, and Sergey Haratonov made his return to Bellator. I don't know if he fought before this. Like the dude just kind of like has been around. I thought he retired, honestly. Like I just thought it was one of those things that like after Pride retired, most of the guys retired.
Yeah.
no, no, he oh shit, he his last fight in Bellator was Bellator 175.
Oh.
And his last loss was in Bellator. Wow, dude. Holy shit. I'm just taking a look at his record, and admittedly, there's some cans. But, but it's still a solid win streak nonetheless. I mean, I'm sorry, I don't want to give you that much credit for being Sokaju in 2017, Sergey.
Yeah. Not
2007
that's
Sokaju, maybe. Maybe. We'll have a conversation then. But 2017, no. Uh, and then Brian Bader just wrestle fucked Matt Mitrione, which is kind of what I expected. Like I was hoping Matt was able to like use his footwork and stay like keep cutting the cage and make um, Bader chase him.
right. Maybe have a slight size advantage to help.
Yeah, no, dude, Bader just came straight forward, pinned him against the fence, and like Mitrione, to say WrestleFucked him is kind of like being like it's a disservice to Mitrione because Mitrione actually put out a really good fight. Like in all honesty, he did really fucking well for someone who doesn't have the same wrestling or grappling credentials that someone like Bader does. Like
Hmm.
in all honesty, like he did for a heavyweight of his caliber, the best he could with the tools he does, and he held off a lot of submissions. He just constantly was fighting back up, never really allowed Bader to let him settle for too long. Like, yeah, Bader was able to hold him down, but it was overall, like, from Mitrione, it was a solid performance, but I think it shows the glaring number one hole in his game is that if you can wrestle this guy, you have a chance to beat this guy. Uh, And then the following night, which I thought was awesome, the fact that Bellator even did this.
The double banger.
Mm-hmm. Dude, not just a double banger, but a double banger with like two of the most polarizing personalities. In all honesty, it's like fucking. This is Habib and Connor in their 30s and 40s. 30 and 40 years later.
Right.
This is the rematch.
Man,
This is the Habib Connor rematch right here, guys.
this is the gray hair Connor and Khabib.
That's what it was, pretty much, almost. Uh, this one was I tuned in like 3 fights into the main card, but I was sad I missed Anatoly Tokov versus Alexander Shlemenko. Tokov coming in out of M1, like the dude's. I believe he was like one of the top Russian 185 fighters that wasn't signed to an American promotion for like the longest time. And he beat Shlemenko in a decision. And I'm gonna have to look it up, but I'm going to assume it was a goddamn war. Because I don't see any other way that fight could go between these two mad lad Russians.
Yeah, no, that would have been a great fight. Yeah, it sucks. I missed both of the cards
Dude,
out all weekend.
yeah, you did miss, like, the final 3 fights, though. I was thoroughly entertained. Czech Congo, good old Czech, still grinding away in Bellator.
Fucking check.
Um,
Specimen.
dude, he's like 40, 43. Jesus Christ. Get me those genetics.
Right?
God
Oh,
damn. But, yeah, he's 43, and since losing to King Mo in 2015, he's been unbeaten.
really?
Yeah,
Not bad, check.
some decent names mixed in there, too. But, Czech has, really changed his ways.
Hmm.
Um, instead of just decisioning the shit out of people, he's won 2 fights now by TKO.
Damn.
Yeah, it was nuts. It was crazy. He clipped Tony or Timothy Johnson and pretty much just dived in, and like Timothy tried to like shoot in and check like uh went like knee on belly and drove it into him, and at the same time just started like hitting him with like fucking hammer fist on the side and just puts him to sleep.
Damn.
I was like, holy Jesus. God damn, you need
Oh
to teach
shit.
fucking Ngannou how to wrestle, dude. Like, seriously. Seriously, though, if you could take, like, Czech Congo's clinch wrestling abilities, and wrestling abilities in general, and put it in Francis Ngannou's body, you would have a multiple time, like, multiple promotion champion.
You would have the Ngannou that UFC wanted to promote.
Oh my god, right? Like, that's what they wanted Czech Congo to be.
Right.
Well, because not only was he, like, French, but I believe he was either Nigerian or Cameroon. So he would have been able to, um, like, break into like the South African market for them and whatnot. So, unfortunately, he went to Bellator, and he's been doing well over there. Like, honestly, I think Czech was the first one to kind of like show UFC fighters that you can make a living outside of UFC, because he been in the UFC for a long fucking time.
Very long time.
Like, by the time he was cut, he'd been in there for, I don't know, maybe like 7 years or so, like longer than most guys have, especially at heavyweight. And he's been doing well in Bellator overall. And then After that, we had the return of the once and future king, Benson Henderson.
Fucking Benson.
Dude, he has been looking a little alright. Like the no, that's mean. If the problem with Benson really was kind of he always took the first round off. It became that way after he won the title.
Oh, he was the worst. He fucking barely escape out decisions. Half of them I'm not even convinced he won.
I know. And half of it was because he would like take that first round off. He would kind of like let that first round slide, second round slide, and the third, fourth, and fifth rounds he'd come alive and make it competitive, like he did against Chandler and Patricky.
Yeah.
But his fights against Roger and Saad, dude, like Benson, I think he's really starting to get his mental back. Like it, I I mean like I think because like Benson had a really illustrious career in the UFC,
Yeah,
like,
of course.
and he'd been up there with some really big welterweights as well, and he's fought arguably some of the best lightweights,
UFC's
and
ad.
UFC's had and just in MMA in general, like
Yeah.
that people can name. Like looking down his wins from the time he debuted in the UFC, Miller, Guida, Edgar, Diaz, Melendez, Thompson, Hobulov, Thatch, Masvidal.
Yeah, and even though they were close, like still the fucking Edgar, Melendez, and Thompson, like
Yeah.
that's a trio of death right there.
Those are three of the most OG lightweights that can put it on anyone.
Oh yeah.
So
Oh
the fact that
man.
Vincent hung in with those guys and made it competitive fights, like speaks so much about his talent when his mental game is on. And I feel like between the Roger Huerta fight and this Saad Awad fight, his mental game has definitely come back. Like Benson looked like the old Benson. Like he was constantly going for submissions, his takedowns, chaining them together beautifully. Like he would, if he couldn't hit the inside single, he'd go outside. If he couldn't get you and outside in the middle of the cage, he'd put you up against the cage, drag you down, trip you down. Like he was doing it like all like he used to in the WC and when he first came into
Nice.
UFC. So I feel like he's got his mental back because it's kind of like the same thing with Larkin. Um, I don't think he really took like I think he did take it seriously, but I don't think he took it like was that ready for the level of competition that Bellator had to offer.
Oh yeah. I mean, you go from those lightweights that he's fought, and then you go up and you fight people like Thatch. Thatch was a big welterweight in the UFC too. Like that fight
Yeah,
was a true David Goliath fight because Bendo just looked tiny compared to Thatch.
yeah,
But
like
yeah, you go from those guys and then you go to this second tier organization supposedly. I could see how maybe even though he thought he was getting prepared, maybe subconsciously he wasn't quite all in.
yeah, like I think he had in the back of his mind, I have the experience to beat these guys. I've been in there with the best guys in the world. Who have these guys fought? Kind of thing. Not saying he's like he overlooked them, but like I just don't think he was like cognizant of the fact that like these guys are just as good. Like his first fight was Andrei Koreshkov, who I believe had just beaten Lima before that fight. No, No, he beat other people, but where is it? Yeah, before the Henson fight, he beat Douglas Lima in a decision. So like, I don't think like fucking uh Benson was aware just like how big of a threat Andre Koreshkov is.
Oh yeah, Benson just, and he looked so small.
He did, and then his fight against Chandler, I thought that was pretty competitive overall. Like Chandler had really big moments, but outside of those big moments, like everything in between, I thought was really competitive. And same with the Patricky Fieri fight. But overall, I hope Benson is on the up and up trajectory in Bellator because I think it would be a cool kind of like fairy tale story kind of thing to see him like end his career as a Bellator lightweight champion.
Yeah, that would be
I
neat.
well, I honestly think he can still do it.
Oh yeah, he's still got it in him, definitely. He's still one of the best out there. And I mean, he's majorly overlooked now because he had a few losses and then he went to Bellator also. And of
And what
course, so many
lost?
people have that awful idea that once you're in Bellator, you know, like you don't mean shit, but that ain't true.
No. I think that like Benson definitely can make a run at the title again, and if anything, I think he uh has a better shot. Hear me out. Hear me out. Hear me out. Okay, so Benson's already fought Patricky. Like if he fights him again, it'll be his third time, and he's already fought Chandler. He hasn't fought the one guy who allegedly beat Chandler. God, what's his name?
Was that the ankle break?
Yeah, what's his name? I should know his name because he's out of fucking my area, but I don't really count that win or his celebration. Like, oh, so
Yeah,
it's hit my
that shit
tongue.
was ridiculous.
Hey, I'm the best in the world. No, you're just the luckiest in the world.
I'm the best in the world. Right, and
Uh,
then he defended it though.
who did he defend it against?
No, I mean he just defended that win.
Oh, I thought he actually defended his title.
No, was that the Brent?
Yes, that's who.
Brent Primus? Primus? I'm the best in the world. I fucking goddamn. That was his last
Like,
fight.
really? How
Yeah.
have they not stripped him?
Right?
Like, I feel like any other organization would have stripped him at this point.
Yeah. No shit, especially considering his win.
Well, like Brent Premise, like he's not a bad fighter
No.
conventionally, no. But like the way he won the title, the way he went about celebrating the title, and I'm not saying you shouldn't like be like, yeah, I fucking won. You shouldn't act like you just walked in there and knocked Chandler out. You got fucking lucky. He rolled his
They're
ankle trying to kick you.
extremely lucky. And you know what? Chandler fucking kept trying to fight even though he couldn't stand off a freak accident. It wasn't what Brent Prince did. It was a freak accident.
Was didn't like Chandler at one point almost knock Brent Primus out with
I
just one
think
leg
so.
that fight? Like just yeah, so I think though like Benson has the tools to beat Patricky and Chandler for sure. Like
Yeah.
Benson's I think and these are not slights against either fighters. I just think that Benson has the the wrestling, the scrambling, the jujitsu, the kickboxing, the clinch work, all those like things that to I think he has it together enough to outwork these guys, especially in rounds where it counts.
Yeah, I mean he just has that package. I mean, yeah, these guys are still like really good, but Benson did
Top
fight
five.
the best in the world.
Yeah, like easily some of the best. And it ended with Fedor and Chael, which goddamn, that was such a crazy fight while it lasted. You know what? I just gotta say this. As sad as I am about Chael losing, I'm just glad it went one round because I know if it went any further than that, both guys might have gotten gassed and it would have looked
Might
like
not have looked good.
no, it would have looked pretty bad. Like, I'm glad they only do 3 rounds with heavyweights, unlike welterweights where they do 5 rounds. That's
Right.
amazing that they do 5 rounds welterweights. Completely mad, but I love it. I remember I saw some people after the Lima Koreshkov the third fight
Uh-huh.
when Lima choked him out, and people were like, "Oh, they should do 5 rounds for heavyweights now." And it's like, what? What? No.
No.
I hardly want to see 3. Like, depending on who the heavyweights are, I'm lucky if I want to watch the whole fight.
Right. No kidding.
Oh god. But overall, like, the fight was amazing. Like, Chael came out, really worked the wrestling, took Fedor down a few times and was super tenacious with it. Fedor kept working back up, kept defending it, and then Chael being Chael, like like this is the thing I don't think people realize about Chael because some people are calling it a work. Right? People are calling this work. I'm like, no, no, honey, you don't understand. This is Chael. Like, he either goes out there and has the best night of his life, or he goes out there and beats himself.
Right. Always. He's so
He
good at beating himself.
Yeah, it's never really the other fighter that beats him. It's just himself that he beats,
Right.
and
Like
he
I
bucks
mean
up.
they do, fans. We're not saying the other
Yeah,
fighters aren't better than him.
yeah. Like Jones was better than him. Yes, Evans was better than him. Yes,
But
but
Chael gives
fights
up so easy in there sometimes.
Ortiz. That Ortiz fight is a perfect
Yeah.
example.
Yeah, it was just sad.
Yeah, and then follow that with the Vonderlei performance when he no was Vonderlei before Ortiz.
I think it was after. It was right after.
Okay, yeah, yeah, it was after because he first fought Ortiz, then he fought Vonderlei, and that fight was actually pretty good. That was Chael being on,
Yeah, and then
and then
he made that comment in the post fight. Well, I guess also Ortiz was sitting there screaming at him the whole fight and
uh,
fucking rubbing it in his face if he was getting hurt or something. And then after the fight, when Chael did that fucking comment about how he made Tito tap out, and fucking Tito was sitting there yelling cage side and was all, or did that evil fucking fat head glare. Dude's head gets bigger every time I see.
it gets older with age. That's what it is.
Yeah.
It gets older with his as like older he gets, the bigger that big thing gets.
Dude, how about Tito versus Chuck 3? Or is it
Let's not
3?
talk
Yeah.
about that. Yeah, let's not talk about that. I like to pretend that's not happening ever.
Yeah, I
I
can't
want,
believe that's a thing.
I want to live in my peachy little world where Chuck and Tito didn't decide to fight again for a third time. I want to live in a world where Chuck's just off in the Bermudas with his wife snorting cocaine. I
Right.
don't know.
Yeah, I don't.
Go do something else, Chuck.
Yeah,
God damn.
he was on this YouTube series for a while, so I watched it. And basically, it was like a bunch of YouTubers, like some gamers and stuff, and like Steve-O was on it, and then Chuck Liddell too, and they were like climbing a mountain, and Chuck just had to like give up. He couldn't even finish it. Which I mean, it's a tough mountain, but it was like sad seeing these YouTubers and shit be.
But at the same time, I don't blame him. The dude's probably got knees that are busted as
Right.
shit.
Oh yeah, he's fucking aged.
Yeah, and let's be honest. Like, there's a difference between aging as like a normal person and then aging as somebody who competes in like fucking combat sports,
Right.
any
Yeah.
sort of combat sport.
Just a odd little predicament.
Yeah, it's like your body ages more than your physical age. But Chael, unfortunately, tried to take Fedor's back at one point and like rolled off,
I saw that.
and it just got his face punched the fuck in. So
Yeah,
now it's gonna
he tried
be.
to flip Fedor over, but Fedor's a little bigger than Chael. The same
I
tricks
don't.
don't work.
I don't think he also had things set him right. I think he rushed it a
Yeah,
little too much because again, it's Chael beating Chael.
of course.
Oh man. So the final Fedor versus Bader is gonna be the finals for the heavyweight championship. And I don't know how I feel about it.
It feels. It makes it feel really watered down. I mean, personally. And as far as like, it, it's a weird fight. It's not definitely not a fight that I ever thought I'd be talking about. It's not one I'm very excited for either.
It's well, I see it going two ways. He's either gonna have that performance like he did against Rumble Johnson, or he's going to have a performance like he normally does and just wrestle flex him.
Mm,
Like I don't really see him trying to stand with Fedor. I just
no,
don't.
I'm absolutely sure he's gonna try to wrestle him.
Yeah, like he can say what he wants about working on his striking, but he only fucking managed to knock out King Mo because King Mo really isn't that like he's a dangerous striker, but he's not somebody who's like you gotta constantly be on the lookout for.
Right.
You know, like Fedor can hit you from a weird angle and knock you out.
Yeah.
So,
Fedor
like
can
I
fucking hit hard still too. That
yeah.
almost double knockout between him and Mitrion was insane. Still one of
Yeah.
the coolest things ever.
Yeah, or the way he finished Frank Mir, which is that step off hook.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. So, like, I mean, I just I hope it's a good fight, but I don't see it being that. It's really either going to go one or two ways because I don't see Bader just being able to bring the kind of fight that brings out the Fedor that we like. The same fight that Sonnen brought, the same fight
Yeah.
that fucking other guys have brought. I don't see Bader doing that. It's just not in him.
Yeah, I don't see it being like a great fight that people are gonna talk about, that's for sure.
So, little bit of breaking news in here for people who are wondering about the Zubara Tukagov situation. The one, the only, the menace Michael Johnson has stepped in to take his place against Artem the Goat Lobov. I weirdly am more excited for that fight now.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean,
Like, I think like it's gonna be the probably one of the most like contrasting style matchups ever. Like of that, okay, not ever, but ever in that tier of fighters.
yeah.
Because
Well,
there's like in the UFC, there's tiers of fighters, and like Johnson's in that tier of guys he's not exactly a gatekeeper, but he's not someone who's gonna make a run in the top five.
yeah.
Like, but and then Artem Lobov is Artem Lobov. He's the goat. What can you say about him?
Absolutely. He's undefeated.
Undefeated. Best record in the UFC.
Fuck.
And
Yeah.
then,
He's there because Connor.
oh my god. Shh.
If anyone
No
says anything
secret.
else, man, like I
It's
love that Lvov's become just a total meme.
right. The whole reason he's there is because he's the GOAT, not because of Connor. Okay, guys?
No, that's an interesting fight. Lobov gets hit a lot. He doesn't look good ever. He's just resilient, but Michael Johnson's probably going to be the most explosive fighter he's fought. Like Feely's good, but Feely isn't a hard hitter because personally I think he's dropping too much weight to go to 145. I think Feely would
Yeah.
be a lot harder hitter at lightweight and probably look a lot better too, but Johnson's explosive as fuck. Even down at that division, he's got that explosiveness. He's like one
Yeah,
of those athletes, real
he
athlete.
does. Yeah, he doesn't have the same pop that like at 145 that he did at lightweight,
Yeah,
but he's still explosive and can still cover distance. He's still just as quick. Like all his attributes still carry over. He just doesn't like. I don't think he carries that same amount of power as he does at lightweight. Like at
yeah.
lightweight, he would just like crack. He would just touch dudes and they'd be on skates.
Oh yeah, he was frightening. I mean, it's not that was the best in the world and unbeatable, but he was
No.
frightening because you never knew when he could fucking put you out.
Yeah. Yeah, the way he would throw that left hand. I remember the first time seeing him fight against Gleason Tebow, and it was just this kind of like little lead left hook, check left hook that kind of looked like it tapped Tebow, and it he was just out. I was just like, good goddamn.
Yeah.
But and another matchup has been announced for UFC 232. Megan Anderson versus Kat Zingano.
Interesting. I didn't hear about that one.
Yeah, this has just been announced.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like
Cool fight.
I think it's
But
gonna be a
Cat?
great fight. I think Kat has this though.
Yeah, I do. I definitely agree. I think people
Megan's
still put Kat way above her actual skill level, but I still think she's a very great fighter and is probably going to win that.
Megan's good, but she's not to the USC level yet, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It showed dearly in her home fight, like how she was just able to like not be able to like stop the clinch and takedown game of home. Like if you're getting taken down by home, there's an issue.
Yeah.
And it's not that home sucks. It's just home doesn't take people down.
Yeah.
If she's
That's not who
taking you
she is.
down, right? If she's taking you down, there's a problem.
No shit. It'll be a fun fight. How about Jones Gus too, huh?
Dude, that's gonna be a crazy fight. If Jones can make it through the fight.
Yeah, we've still got Jones versus Jones before Jones versus Gus too comes.
Yeah. That is a fight that Jones has yet to win. See, Jones versus anyone is like Tony versus Habib. We want it to happen so badly, but the reality is it may not ever happen.
There's always a fucking cord somewhere waiting to trip.
Yeah, there's always that tainted supplement somewhere.
And pregnant women. Fucking
Oh my-
everywhere.
And another matchup announced, and I'm happy about this, is for women's flyweight. Mainly because I can't stand the girl that Jessica I is gonna fight.
Oh shit.
Caitlin Shakagian.
Oh god.
Oh man, if you took Holly Holmes kicking, clinching, wrestling away, shrunk her down to 125, just kept her boxing and barking and like leg kicks, You would have Caitlin Chikagian, aka UFC's most boring women's fighter you could ever imagine. This
Oh
chick,
man.
I'm sorry, but I was watching one of her fights and I was getting literally physically mad. Like, I was just like, I hate this fight. I hate women's MMA. I don't ever want to watch women fight again.
I love when she fights though, because Jack Slack always goes on drunken rants on Twitter.
Oh my god. Dude, I don't know who hates her more, me or Jack. I think it's a real tie because
The
I
real
just
tie.
can't stand her. And I hate it because UFC analysts will be like, oh man, Shikagian's got an educated jab. No, she just pumps it and barks. It moves in a circle. That's all she fucking does.
Yeah, she's fucking
Uh,
awful to watch.
my god, it's the worst. I want Jessica I to just go in there and give her a Cleveland beatdown. Just drop a big old Cleveland steamer on the cage while you're in there.
Right. Dude,
Fucking
how about Eddie signed with ONE
dude.
FC?
Eddie Alvarez signing with ONE FC, I think, is probably one of the best things to happen in a while as well. Like, I, I'm just gonna say this anytime someone who's in a high ranking of sorts in the UFC that like leaves. Like, I'm just gonna say that it's a good move for the fighters because it gives them power. It shows
Yeah,
them
oh
that,
yeah. Gives him a
hey,
power.
it shows them, hey, guess what? You don't have to fucking work for the UFC to make a good paycheck.
Yeah.
No.
No, that's great. I'm pumped for him. I hope he becomes a champion too, because that would be legendary.
Dude, I think he could, considering that, like, ONE FC doesn't really have much of a weight cutting policy.
Right.
They kind of do it more or less like, uh, uh, hydration wise. So, like, they do it like, it's like a descent thing. You got to be within a certain hydration ratio for your certain weight class and whatnot.
Right.
And so, really, like, and Ben Askren explained it, and he was saying that really he fights around like 180,
Yeah.
but it's like technically the 170 title. So, like, really, all the weight classes are like all ballooned up one, but they're all like the standard title. Which, personally, I think if you're not going to add weight classes, at least do that.
Right? It
You know,
makes sense.
if you're not going to add weight classes, at least do that for weight cutting. Just fucking at least do something like that so you give people the ability to move into different weight classes without having to add, 165, 175, all those other weight classes because Dana has that whole issue with like fighters wanting to move up and move down and then fucking he doesn't want people to drain like his excuses are is like I don't want to drain a weight class, and all the guys who can't get a title in one division are gonna go get a title in that one, and I'm just like, so
Right?
isn't the point of a promotion to have as many champions as possible, or
Right? You
like
want
to
champions.
market?
Champions draw.
Yeah, like it doesn't matter if like belts if you don't okay so say they did add a 165 weight class and he didn't want to make it like a belt make it just a tournament weight class
Right. That makes sense.
you know
Even that
make
though, it's the dumbest excuse. Oh, people that couldn't be champs in this division are gonna go. Well, fucking maybe they are championship material, but they're dropping too much weight and they're too small for the other weight class. Like, what's so hard to understand about that? Some people might be the best in the world, but we're not seeing their best right now.
yeah I have a real issue with that like it's just I get it from a promotional standpoint that you don't want to have to deal with all these fucking like negotiations and all these different weight classes, but at the same time, I feel it's a necessary evil you have to embrace because you if you want to stay at the top, I feel you need more names and more draws
Yeah.
than what you have out there. Because,
They don't have really anything at this point. They've been
well,
focused so
the
hard.
the thing is, like, what it does right now, keeping the weight classes where they have them, is it causes a lot of gridlock in the weight classes. It causes so many people to be skipped over. It causes just a lot of just bottlenecking, and you see people like who'll go on these big win streaks like Darren Elkins, then have to fight a guy who's not even ranked that high, like Alexander Volkanovski, who, all respect to him, I actually love him and am a huge fan of him, but like he even said it best, it's kind of messed up that the UFC matched him up with him, but respect to Darren for taking the fight.
Mm,
But, realistically, Darren should have been fighting way higher up than he was matched up against.
yeah. Yeah.
Realistically.
There's just so much. Well, and especially in those like between lightweight and welterweight, they've got the most, like the biggest roster. There's so many fighters I've never even heard of that are fighting in those divisions
And then you've
because
got
they have
more guys coming in.
yeah, they have almost like 200 guys in each of those divisions compared to like 100 in each other one.
And they could shave it down to like 150 and still
Right.
have a competitive weight class.
Yeah. So yeah, they really should think about putting something there, but I don't know. They might because Dana White said that they wouldn't.
Yeah, that's always a key indicator. And then also in MMA news, the PFL playoffs, for anyone who's been following, the light heavyweight and lightweight finalists are Rashid Magomedov versus Nathan Schulte and Sean O'Connell versus Vinny Magalhaes.
Fucking Sean.
Yeah, dude, I think Sean O'Connell. So anyone who doesn't know, Sean O'Connell has been around the UFC for a minute. Like he tried out for the Ultimate Fighter back in the day, didn't make it, went to the regional scene, got into the UFC, had some fights, was really entertaining. I'm not sure if he was cut or if he decided to leave,
Yeah, I think
but
he was cut, if I remember correctly.
either way, he bounced around for a bit, and now he's found his home in the PFL,
Which is great.
where I guess now he's like also doing like some sort of like broadcasting work. Like he does the voiceover for their breakdowns.
That's sweet, actually. Sean's got a great personality, like,
Well,
honestly. And,
I
he's the UFC uh, weight night champion, too.
yeah,
Weigh-ins champion.
he is. He is. No one can beat Sean O'Connell's weigh-ins. But who was it? Yeah, Sean. Sean. I guess someone said he has a background in radio.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so he has like a really, really good like voice to like uh speak for breakdowns and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well,
But I'm
yeah,
excited for PFL and the future they hold, dude. Like
it's
I
kind of interesting. I like that idea.
I think that tournaments for in all honesty are the way to go for the most part. Like you can have your normal weight class fights, but I think having a tournament card like PFL does is pretty fucking awesome. Like I think it adds some, at least for this company, it works for them because you can go to Bellator, UFC and watch your champions versus number one contenders, or you can go here and watch like these guys fight for a chance to win $1 million. That's what this tournament is for. Like, it's to win $1 million. I like that idea of the tournament better, Instead
Yeah.
of like a belt, like a fucking cash prize tournament where you get like $1 million or $2 million or whatever. Like, that shit, I think is gonna be crazy to see, like, see it all, like, where it goes down. because PFL, I guess, is on a like feeder league contract with the UFC, which is why they have so many former UFC fighters.
Makes sense.
Like I know, which is how they ended up with Gaethje as well. Or how UFC ended up with Gaethje and Moraes so easily was when they ended their terms their time with the WSOF and they changed formats. They're able to come over to UFC easier.
Right.
And that's why you see guys like Bojan Velichkovic and Eddie Gordon and Rick Story in the PFL tournament because they have this like kind of open contract kind of thing with UFC.
That's kind of interesting, though. It's cool. I mean, I've seen, like, a long time ago, someone proposed the idea, and if the UFC did something kind of like baseball, baseball has the MLB, and then they have the minor leagues, and, if someone isn't doing good up in the major leagues, well, they drop down to the minor league for a season or two, and they get their game back on, they're getting better, well, bring them back up.
Yeah,
It's a
I
really
think
cool idea.
that's what they do with LFA and PFL.
Hmm.
Is they send guys to both promotions or they bring guys from both promotions
Yeah, that's what
and
they needed to do because, like, these guys, these are their money. Like, these guys are making money for them, and they go on a rough patch. Well, then before it was they just get cut and then they're on their own. They're like
yeah,
they're screwed. They have to figure something out, and yeah, they're able to get fights with some promotions, but sometimes it's just like some real shit promotions that may or may not pay them, and probably not
dude,
paying them well either.
Just Bleed championships in some place in Nebraska.
Yeah.
You're fighting for like $150 to win
Yeah.
and maybe $200 to show, or 150 to show, 250 to win, or something like that.
Yeah,
Like
they
for the
definitely
longest
needed a
time, it
change.
was yeah. I'm not saying
Um,
all
yeah,
Nebraska fighting champion or fighting promotions are shit, but like let's be honest, there's so many fighters ended up in the Midwest and random places in Mexico and California and all over just getting fights,
pretty
just trying to get
much.
fights.
Yeah,
And
just
I
trying
think
to keep
it's
alive.
yeah, and I think having something like the PFL that's like, this guy's on a bit of a rough patch, but he's shown talent. Like he's not a total scrub. He's just not able to put it together at this level. So we're going to send him to a PFL contract so he can like have better luck over there,
Yeah,
or basically put his skill together over there without taking up roster space of someone who could be a contender.
exactly. It's nice to finally see it
Yeah,
kind of taking form.
yeah, it really is, and like I think that over time, um, things like the Dana White choosing a contender series, they're gonna pull more guys from PFL and LFA and other organizations to fight on that as a like way to see as a like a yardstick to measure them out and see how they do with the boss and people watching. And then it's like, okay, this is how the guy performs. Let's bring him in and give him a contract.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
like as of late, they have they've been getting some good guys in the contender series, but some guys aren't like their records aren't that great.
No.
And then later, sadly, not until the 27th. I thought it was the 22nd for some reason. 27th, we have UFC Fight Night 138, Volkan Ozdemir. And I'm just looking through it right now. There's a handful of fights like that stick out to me as like um somebody who likes to watch up and comers in the UFC. Like I guess you could call them. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily call someone like fucking you know Calvin Kattar a young blood,
No.
but UFC terms, he's a young blood, and he's going to be facing off against Chris Fishgold. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him. He is a former Cage Warriors 145 and I believe 155 champion.
Uh-huh.
The dude has beaten a handful of really good UK fighters, and I believe this dude was a Nick Haran Webb. I believe he was in the UFC. He beat him, so that was like one of his first UFC level. Because all fighters outside of UFC promotions eventually will fight someone who's been in the UFC as
Right.
a kind of a feeling out fight to see if they're ready for that level of competition. And he handled it pretty well with a unanimous decision.
Cool.
Looking at his record, it's the only decision. All his other fights have been rear naked chokes. The dude's
Oh, wow.
really good. Yeah, rear naked chokes or guillotines. Yeah, dude's really good submission specialist, and he's going to be fighting Calvin Cater. I guess that's how you pronounce it, Cater.
Mm.
Fuck you, it's Qatar. Okay, I'm gonna keep calling it Qatar until Calvin Qatar finds me out and tells me to say it differently.
That's fair.
And then our boy Don Madge is making his debut against Tay Edwards.
Fuck yeah. So pumped for that.
Um,
God, I hope he doesn't get wrestle fucked.
I don't know. I don't think Tay's gonna try and wrestle with him. I've
Good.
been watching it. I've been watching as much as I could on Tay, and he's like, he's like a cockier Michael Johnson out of the lab.
Damn.
So he's got decent, he's got really good hands, but his thing is his power. Like the dude has mad power for a lightweight. Like I can't deny that. Like he can crack. But I wouldn't say he's on the level of Dawn. Like I don't think he can deal with the same kind of clinch
That same
finesse
level.
that Dawn
Yeah.
has. Like
Dawn is
I went
just
back and watched.
amazing.
Yeah, dude, I went back and watched some Dawn fights again, and the way he uses his clinch is just so mind blowing because it's not even just the normal way. Like he'll clinch people, post out, and then instead of throwing knees, he'll use that post out to throw inside elbows.
Yeah.
Or he'll throw elbows this way, or he'll throw elbows up that way, and then he'll throw knees. Like the way he clinch fights is so beautiful because he brings that Muay Thai style, and probably the best I've seen it done in a long time. I can't think of really any other fighters who brought that same level of Muay Thai in the UFC.
No, nothing like it. You get the Muay Thai fighters, but like Dawn is legit Muay Thai style.
Yeah, like Anderson Silva is a Brazilian Muay Thai fighter. I think that clarification needs to be made. Is that there's there is a Brazilian Muay Thai, which is a little less technical, and then there's the Muay Thai, where it's super technical, but at the same time still just as brutal.
Just so brutal. It's fucking insane.
And then a fight because I love the dude, and it's interesting to me. Ed Herman versus John Vellante. First of all, let's just give credit to fucking Ed Herman for being in the UFC for this long.
True.
Like, I don't know many fighters on the roster who made their debut in pretty much 2006 and are still fighting in the UFC today, aside from...
That's pretty insane.
Like, I don't know many fighters from that season who are still in the UFC even. Like, most of those dudes are just gone anyway. But Ed Herman, man, like, I love the dude, but he's been in a weird state. Like, he's 1-3 in his last 4.
Yeah, he's pretty much about on his way out.
Yeah. I mean, he beat Tim Bosch. Well,
Good win.
see, he got knocked out by Brunson, but I mean, Brunson's an athletic freak,
Yeah.
so you can't like really knock him on that. He stopped Tim Bosch with punches and knees. He got head kicked by Krylov, and Krylov is one of those guys that can like stop people if you give him the chance. And I rewatched that fight, and Ed Herman made it he made it really competitive before he got stopped. So, and then his most recent fight was a year ago. He lost a unanimous decision to Holloway.
Yeah, it's not bad. I mean, it's still solid competition he's fighting after all these years.
Yeah, like solid competition for the level that he's at, because like it's obvious that the UFC isn't expecting him to make a run, but
Yeah.
they are using him as a name, and he's got fight value left. He's got name value, and he's got fights left in him. So
Yeah, definitely.
and at this point, the UFC's realized that they need draws to their shit, even the free cards, more than ever.
No shit.
But he's fighting the Artem Lobov of light heavyweight, Gian Vellante. Because let's be honest, if it wasn't for Chris Weidman, Gian would not be in the UFC still.
Yeah, probably not.
No, he would not. And it's not because he's a bad fighter. It's just he's not that exciting of a fighter. And he doesn't like really show much in any of his fights. Like, he kind of just, it's like the same shit every fight.
Yeah. He doesn't look hungry. He just
No. Like, his last win, like, stoppage was in 2016. And before that was Corey Anderson. I know on his record it says Anthony Perosh, but I'm not counting that one. Mainly because it's not a victory to stop Anthony Perosh, it's just expected.
Yeah, I don't know. That's interesting. I don't know. The fight that I'm most looking forward to, and like besides the Dawn match fight and future UFC cards, upcoming cards, easily DC Lewis.
Dude, DC Lewis is something that I'm excited for, but at the same time, I'm thinking about it like, why?
I know. I'm still
why?
Poor Stipe. Like Stipe just got fucked by the UFC. But like, and then Lewis, what? Like right after this, just admits how awful his cardio is. About to get put in against the champion, who's a cardio machine.
Right? Like, I love it. That's UFC logic 101 right there for you.
Yeah, Lewis.
That's
Lewis
actually
is so much bigger than DC too.
Yeah, that's actually after the Volkan Smith card.
Yeah.
And that fight, dude, this card, I don't know, man. This card's gonna be fucking sick. Like, I'm looking at it right now, and I'm liking the matchups on here. Like, just the main card alone. Co-main event, Luke Rockhold, Weidman 2. Then you have Ronaldo Souza versus David Branch. David Branch, UFC veteran, former 2-division weight champion in WSOF before it changed to PFL. Dude's a veteran and as experienced as it comes, and he stopped Thiago Sanos in his last fight. So
Yeah.
And he's also an experienced ground fighter as well. Like, he trains out of the Renzo Gracie Academy with Danaher and the boys. So I think that fight between Rockhold, Weidman, and Souza and Branch, you're gonna have like a fight of the night, and then under that you have Carl Robertson and Jack fucking Marshman.
Fuck.
Oh my god, dude! Do you guys even know what you're doing to the fans? Oh my god, Jack Marshman may not be the most like well-rounded fighter, but my god, can that boy scrap? Dude, he can
Yeah.
scrap.
Well,
He can throw it.
Marshman's just fucking fun to watch, man.
He's tough as fuck. Do you know this motherfucker tried to cut to 170?
Really?
He's big for 185, and he tried to cut to 170. Like we've people who've seen him. He's a big dude for 185, and he tried to cut to 70 and like twice. And the second
Yeah.
one, the fight was canceled due to health concerns, and I'm like, oh no shit.
Who would have thought?
Yeah, you fucking dunce. God damn. And then after that, like the fight before that one, depending on like going down, after that one is fucking Brunson Adesanya, which I have Adesanya walking through Brunson because at this stage in his career, I don't see Brunson being able to offer up much to Adesanya that's gonna like really like worry him or test him at all.
Yeah,
Like,
Brunson is pretty basic.
he's so basic, and I hate saying that because he can be exciting, but at the same time, he does kind of just charge in, do that whole thing where he'll throw the punch, leave his arm like down by his side and his chin way out there. Like it's there's all like he has all of these things that are so bad about him, but he still manages to get wins. It's so fucking weird. But I think Adesanya stops him.
Hmm.
I don't know about anyone else. And then Jason Knight and Sajara Eubanks are not Jason Knight and Sajara Eubanks. God, that'd be funny as fuck to see. Just Jason Knight beat the shit out of a woman on TV. I don't know why.
That's fucked up, man.
That is fucked up, and I could just Sajara Eubanks walks out. She's like, yo, this is my fight. They're like, I guess so. And it's like, alright, I'm beat this bitch's ass. I mean, fuck it, this is sanctioned, right?
Fuck, money's money.
That was Jason Knight and Jordan Rinaldi, dude. That fight's gonna be interesting because Rinaldi's dropping down from lightweight,
Yeah.
and Jason Knight's kind of a big featherweight. I think
he really is.
I think he could comfortably make lightweight, or if they expanded the featherweight limit, he could be a lot stronger and have a deeper gas tank. But he's kind of got that like Diaz to him in the sense that if he's losing, he's just like, whatever, I'll just survive. This
Yeah.
ain't shit.
Just
This is
doesn't
whatever.
fucking care.
Yeah, but if he's winning, he's fucking on.
Yeah, Knight's
Like,
fun.
so, he's so fun. I can't wait to see what the future holds for this kid because like he's not even in his like mid-20s and he's only 20-5.
Damn.
Yeah. He's only 26 and he's already 20-5. 3-loss streak, but I mean, he lost to 3 dudes that are extremely tough.
Yeah.
Ricardo Lamas, that was, in my opinion, too big of a step up for him. Like, I feel like records-wise, it makes sense because Knight had the better record going into it, but experience-wise, I knew Lamas was just too much. It was
Yeah.
way too much for Knight to handle at this point in his career.
Yeah, I was pretty surprised when it was announced.
Yeah, like I was hoping like maybe he could draw Lamas into a brawl,
Uh-huh.
like he's drawn into, but nah, he got
Lamas was on
clipped.
it. Lamas was on his game.
Yeah, and then he lost to Benitez, which isn't a bad fight or a bad loss because Gabriel Benitez, he's out of AKA. He's a highly touted blue chip prospect in 145. I think he also won the Latin American Ultimate Fighter as well, one of the seasons. So I don't count that loss against him, especially in unanimous decision, like because this is the reality of 145 is extremely competitive. Like you have dudes that are just like you never know if they're gonna fucking like you never know who's gonna win when it's announced.
Right.
And then he fought Makwan Amirkhani and lost in just split decision. But that fight was good and it could have gone either way, so I ain't mad about that. Dude, it's so these next few weeks are gonna be interesting UFC wise, and unfortunately for Bellator, anyone who's a fan of it, you're gonna have to wait till November 15th because that's when they're gonna have Pitbull versus Sanchez, which if anyone has been watching Bellator, Emmanuel Sanchez has been on a tear, and fucking it's Patricio Pitbull. You
Yeah.
know, do I have to say much more? Uh, the three fights on the main card look good. The top three fights. Actually, I take that back. Only the fact that Hayim Golazi is gonna get a showcase fight looks good. He's fighting
Oh,
Ryan
shit.
Couture. Which
Fuck.
I feel bad for Couture at this point. He's kind of become the guy that people showcase on.
Yeah.
He
Pretty
really
much.
has,
Oh
which
well.
is sad because his dad was one of the greatest.
Yeah, it happens. Oh well.
Yeah.
I don't
You
know.
know
It's
what?
kind of. I mean, we've got some decent, interesting cards coming up. Hopefully everything's gonna move past this McGregor Khabib shit. God, I
Yeah.
hope people stop screaming for a rematch because that would be ridiculous.
There's no need for it. I
No,
don't
Khabib
care.
kicked his
The thing
ass.
is, well, and the thing is, I don't. You can make an argument for the buys, but I don't think very many people would buy it.
No,
Like
because I
we've
mean,
seen,
Connor wasn't that close to winning at all.
well, like the only and people are going to talk about this because this is just the nature of MMA, where like you in MMA you can be losing, you could lose the fight as a whole, but you have a good moment in one round, and that is like your redemption.
Yeah.
So like people talk about, oh, that third round though, he won that third round. It's like, well, Habib didn't try to wrestle in the third round,
No, and when he
right?
did, Connor was grabbing his shorts.
Yeah, like there was like, yeah, you could make an argument that Connor won, but overall that was still 4-1.
Yeah.
That's not rematch worthy in any sense of the word. Like, I don't care how much money you can make because you could make more money off of seeing someone like uh, Tony Ferguson fight,
Right.
especially because they had Tony Ferguson fight before Conor Habib, and that
Yeah, so a
honestly
lot of
was
people got to see it.
extremely smart because that was the I feel had they put any other fight, people wouldn't have been as amped for Conor Habib.
Yeah.
Like, like that fight was just nuts.
It
And
was insane.
seeing how insane Tony can be, people are gonna want to see that against
Yeah,
Habib.
they're gonna love that shit.
And at this point, I think now that because it's become one of the biggest pay per view cards. At this point, they don't even have to sell it based on the trash talk. They just got to use fight footage and the fact that both these guys come to smash. They're
Oh
come to
yeah.
cut you open, bust you open, break your spirit, and someone's like leaving in the stretcher.
Yeah, they're insane. That's definitely the fight that we deserve to see, but who knows? It's been attempted so many times already. Did you see Herb Dean comment on how he let Connor cheat?
No.
Yeah, he made an official comment basically stating, as an official ref,
Oh.
he's in there and he has to make the decisions based off whether he thinks it affects the fight or not. And he saw everything Conor was doing, but felt like stopping it would have affected the fight more than, or felt like the cheating wasn't affecting the fight, and so stopping it would have interfered with the fight, basically, and it could have changed everything. And it's like, well, how is holding the short so Khabib can't take you down not like changing the outcome of the fight? Like that
That's
everything should
changing.
be stopped.
That's just,
Getting kneed in the head
yeah.
or grabbing the cage so that he can't be taken down, that changes the fight. So yeah, you probably should have fucking stepped in. Like that was just purely Herb Dean trying to defend himself instead of admitting he fucked up.
Yeah, like, what the fuck? You
Yeah.
know what, though? I think that's just the problem when you have this, like, kind of, I don't know, reverence for, uh, referees.
Yeah.
Like, I think we should be way more critical of referees.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, there are good ones that we should definitely praise, like Mark Goddard,
Oh yeah.
Chris Tione, fucking, oh god, the dude who has, the fucking, Mike Beltran, the guy who has the fucking,
Yeah.
the crazy handlebar. Yeah, my favorite guy, and the mini Brock.
Mini Barack.
Like those, and also at times when he's there, uh, fucking, oh, got busted for pot. What's his name?
Shit, I can't remember. It's a pretty big name when that happened too.
Yeah, yeah. God, why can't I think of it right now?
Ah, Josh Rosenthal.
Rosenthal.
Yeah.
I love that dude.
Fucking
Sickest,
funny.
sickest tats in the game.
Yeah, that shit's hilarious.
But
Yeah, we definitely, I mean, it definitely needs to be more critical towards refs, but everyone wants to make excuses, and then, I don't know, like, it sucks Big John isn't in. I liked Big John because, like, any other fight you saw John Bones Jones in, he'd poke the fuck out of people's eyes because the refs would kind of let him get away with it. But
mhm.
then Big John, as soon as, like, one eye poke happened, he'd sit there and warn him, be like, you do it again, taking the point away. And notice in the Big John fights, there were almost never any eye pokes.
Yeah, didn't Big John ref Gustafson versus Jones the first one?
He might have. I really can't remember anymore.
Yeah,
I never
yeah.
remember the rest of fights.
Dude, yeah. I just remember the fights like um Bigfoot out Overeem and Herb Dean's reaction when he knocked out Bigfoot or when he knocked
Right.
out Overeem. He was just like,
Yeah.
"Oh shit, Jesus!" Like, I would love to be a ref specifically for that reason, to experience those, like, you're in there watching that shit and you watch a dude just get fucking starched like
Right. Who's
bad. You're
that,
just like, Jesus!
yeah, who's that fucking, that boxing ref?
Oh my god, that guy. I know who you're talking about, but
Starts
he's
with an
super
S, I
fucking
think.
animated. Yeah, it's like Steve something.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, I mean, more than anything, the problem I think we have really is, like you said, we aren't critical enough of referees. There's not enough, like, focus on the fact that referees are in there for a specific job. They're
Yeah.
not, like, their job isn't, and, and I think also part of the problem comes with the fact that some of the rules are left open to interpretation.
Hmm.
So what one ref may deem as eye poking, the other may not see it really as intentional eye poking. So he may just give warning for it or not even like try and address it. So I think that is one of the biggest problems because you see it all the time with elbows and referees. all the time. Every referee interprets downward elbows differently from the cage, like the Travis Brown style elbows. Some may call it back of the head, some may call it clean. So,
Mhm.
like, just because of the fact that the rules written in such a way that you got to interpret it yourself, I think is what causes so many problems with the reffing discrepancies.
Yeah, nah, I could definitely agree with that.
Like
Um,
you have so many, and I also think that like there needs to be a standard like for when the guy isn't fighting back. I mean, because again, the great and wonderful Herb Dean reffing CB Dollaway and the Moscow card.
yeah,
He almost got when he practically got killed. Like it was a hard fight for me to watch, dude. Like I mean, I may not be the biggest fan of CB, but like that fight was hard for me to watch. I was just like, oh my god, stop this fucking fight! Like it should have been stopped 5 punches ago. Like why are you even like letting it continue? And the fact that he didn't even stop it, let the bell ring and stopped it between fucking rounds. Like
yeah. It
oh
was
my
so fucking
god,
bad.
it was almost as bad as the fucking Anders fight. Like the ending to that one, the ending to that one was so dramatic. Like the way Anders fell back and stuff, and the ref just kind of stood there. And then after he dropped the first time, the ref didn't do anything. Like I feel in cases like that, if the fighter drops in the cage, it's over.
Yeah, fucking
Like
call it.
yeah, if the fight after the round ends and the fighter gets up and he's walking back to his corner and drops, I'm sorry, it's over. Like you're showing that you're compromised in some way or another. It doesn't matter if you can get up and continue to fight. So you're putting yourself at risk, and I think we let our refs get away too much with that kind of stuff and like, oh, fighters fight, they can fight on, they're tough. No, their safety above all. Like
Oh
we
yeah,
can talk about everything else. I'd rather see a fight get called early and the fighter be able to fight 2 or 3 cards later, and then instead of a fight get called late and that fighter has to retire 6 months later.
no shit. No, it's awful, and the way like the commission just doesn't want to accept blame if the refs fuck up at all. And
No.
like, God, what was it? There was a fight where someone was just escaped a guillotine, I think, and he got into full mount, and then the ref stopped it because the guy on bottom claimed that he tapped or something, and then the ref stopped it. Like, and just declared him choked out, even though the guy like got up and was like, "Wait, what? Like, I just escaped. Why did you stop the fight?" And then I don't
Dude,
think the commission ever overturned it either, even though he tried.
like Drew Dober and Brazil when he was getting choked out. Well,
Yeah,
not choked out. He was in the guillotine from side control. So the
that's it.
dude had a guillotine. Dober was on the other side, and he was just chilling, waiting for the guy to let go. And the other guy looks up at the ref like, "Hey, he's out, he's out." And because Dober's not really like moving, he's just kind of chilling, waiting for the other guy to try and finish a choke so he can like move from there.
Yeah,
And the ref stops it, and Dover's like, "What the fuck?" I think they eventually overturned it, and the
it was a
Brazilian Athletic
battle though.
Commission,
Like,
yeah,
yeah,
I believe Dober and his legal team had to go to Brazil to battle this. Like that's how crazy it was, and like those are things that I think still plague the MMA community and the business as a whole, and why I think that some sort of like uh union would be nice to have for
hmm
in cases like that you have some people to help you with your case to overturn a ruling or fight a ruling. But at the same time this can get messy.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much.
And if anyone's interested, I know I usually tune in to watch them, but later in November, same month that the next Bellator card's happening, Invicta's having their next fight, Invicta 32, for the vacant Flyweight Championship. And the co-main event is featuring a UFC veteran. And I was actually surprised to see her. Fucking Heather Clark.
Really?
Yeah, Heather Clark.
Oh.
She's fighting in the co-main event against Mizuki Ioni.
Mm.
Yeah. Like,
Interesting.
yeah, there's a handful of fights on this card. Oh shit. This is Tracy. Tino Noma? Okay, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Sweet. Fucking a chick out of I was looking at the card, Liz Tracy. I was making sure it's the same one I know out of the, like, not know, I just know the name from, like, all the people I know in the area. She's fighting on this Invicta card too.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. It's actually kind of cool to see. So one of the biggest reasons I tune in to watch Invicta is because I'm out of the Pacific Northwest, and they usually have a lot of fighters out of Portland coming onto their cards. Like, it's so weird that I'm like, how do they get all these fighters from Portland?
Right.
Like, do they just have like a pulse on like some of the best women in this division? Like, what? Like, I don't get it. But some of them have turned in really good fights. And then there's this chick that is like a Invicta homegrown star, and she's out of um god damn it, 10th Planet.
Mm.
She's homegrown star for Invicta. She's 125, out of 10th Planet, California, but she used to be my professor's student as well. Like, she used to train jujitsu, her gi jujitsu under him.
Wow. That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, so like she debuted back she debuted in 2017, and then a year later she had another fight in Invicta, like in April, and lost that. And then she kind of bounced around. Well, she left Invicta, went to a regional show, picked up a win, came back to Invicta and got another win.
Mm.
Yeah. Like, she left Invicta to get like a confidence boost win, which I think, every fighter needs, especially if you're trying to break into a promotion like Invicta, because if you like start racking up losses at that level, it's going to be hard for you to get past that level.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't. I mean, you're on the wrong side of momentum at that point.
Yeah. So, like, she came back strong with 2 wins via ground and pound stoppage. So, I have to say she's on an upward trajectory, and I'm excited to see her fight in this upcoming Invicta card.
Oh, yeah?
Well, not just because she's like a fellow student by like my professor, but she's super fucking exciting. Like, she's got really good jiu-jitsu and pretty decent striking for someone who's a primary grappler. Like, that's one thing I always try to try to scope out on women, is how good their striking is, because I feel like most women are fairly good grapplers at this level. Where it comes down to is like your striking.
Mm.
Unless you're
Shit,
Megan
man.
Anderson.
Yeah, no, fuck. I think, we're about time to wrap it up. We're way past our time.
Oh, we had a few interruptions. It's all good.
I
But
didn't realize it was that far.
oh no, it's all good, dude. We fucking, it's been a while since we had to record, so there's a lot of stuff we need to talk about and cover.
So much.
And still plenty more to come. So we will get back to you guys hopefully next Wednesday. This has been Proud of a Warrior. Have a good evening.
Thank you, everyone.